starting pitchers have been on a roll over the last 3 games, combining to allow just 2 earned runs in the last 22 innings pitched. And tonight, rookie right-hander Matt Andriese looks to continue that trend, making his first career start in the big leagues. Tonight we greet you from the shores of Lake Ontario in Toronto, where the Rays continue their 4-game series taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. After dropping the first game of this road trip, the Rays have now won 3 in a row, 2 in Miami, and last night another outstanding pitching performance. Hi again, everyone, with Brian Anderson, Dwayne Stats. Great to have you looking in. Well, the Rays are built on pitching, and we've certainly seen that the last 3 victories.
They continue to take it to another level. I mean, the American League has not seen a streak of starting pitching like this since 1992, just the second time in AL history that starters have gone 7 or more innings and given up 1 earned or less on 2 hits or less, and that's what we've seen. Chris Archer got it started on Saturday. Nathan Carnes finishes off the Citrus Series on Sunday, and then Jake Odorizzi comes up here in the home opener for the Blue Jays and takes it right to them. The one thing that these 3 guys have done, and that Matt Andriese will get the opportunity to do tonight, is they have all gone out and been on the offensive. They have just set the tone early and often and put these opposing lineups back on their heels.
Matt Andriese has 1 game in the major leagues under his belt, 1 inning, that out of the bullpen. And tonight he will make his first big league start here against this formidable lineup put together by the Toronto Blue Jays. When we come back, Todd talks with tonight's starter, Matt Andriese.
Matt Andriese making the walk-in from the bullpen for his first major league start, hoping to take advantage of the slow turf here at the Rogers Center. When he is on, he is getting a lot of ground balls as the Rays take on the Toronto Blue Jays with a winning record at 4-3. First time this season the Rays can say that. For Matt Andriese, what's important for him? Here is Matt Andriese scouting Matt Andriese.
Yeah, I would consider myself like a ground ball guy. I like to envision myself kind of a guy who goes out there and goes deep into games, like not going to overpower you with a lot of velocity and whatnot, but kind of sinker cutter and just, attack the strike zone and use all 4 pitches and throw them for strikes.
So, guys, we'll see how long he can last tonight. He only has pitched the 1 inning, as you mentioned, since spring training, and the most pitches he had in spring training was a 78-pitch outing earlier in Port Charlotte. Back to you guys.
See Matt reaching the dugout there, preparing for his first start. So 2 young pitchers squaring off. Here is the starting lineup, brought to you by your Southern Ford dealers. It'll be Brandon Geyer, Sousa Jr., and Cabrera the DH tonight. Evan Longoria, then Desmond Jennings and Logan Forsythe. Rene Rivera at first base, Tim Beckham at short. Bobby Wilson hits 9th. He'll do the catching as the Rays face the left-hander Daniel Norris. And the first pitch of this game is in there for a called strike. First pitch presented by Pinch-A-Penny. Off the mid of Russell Martin, and it's 1-1. Well, if you were with us for any of the pregame show, you started to get a feel for what Daniel Norris is like. Foul ball back, 1-2. And of all of the unorthodox approaches he might have off the field, he is all business on that mound, and that's what the Blue Jays treasure most about him. Fly ball lifted into center, and that's how this one starts. 1 away.
Now let's set the Blue Jay defense for you here tonight. Now they're going to line up behind Mr. Norris. In the outfield, left to right, we have Kevin Pillar, Dalton Pompey, and Jose Bautista. Across the infield, third to first, Josh Donaldson, Jose Reyes, Devon Travis, and Edwin Encarnacion, with Russell Martin behind the plate.
Norris will be 22 years old in a little over a week. Here's Steven Sousa Jr. He sends one deep to straightaway center. Pompey back, and that maybe is gone. Steven Sousa Jr. hitting his first home run of the year, and it was a no-doubter.
I mean, that was up 3 levels, dead center field. Now, Steven Sousa Jr. has said that he was trying to do too much the first week of the season. He just wanted to get back to his short, compact swing, and that contact right there was loud, and that was a bomb. Watch where this thing ends up. Right up by that WestJet flight deck, above the camera. There it goes.
First home run in a Rays uniform. Not his first big league homer, but boy, he is happy to have that one out of the way here in a Rays uniform. 1-0 Rays on the long one to center. Now Cabrera takes that pitch for ball 2, 2-0. Here's the home run cut.
Well, that was right down Broadway, thigh high, and Steven Sousa did not miss it.
It's upstairs.
Daniel Norris, 4-pitch starter. Fastball, creates a good downhill plane with it. He's got a slider, curveball, changeup.
Finds the strike zone there, 3-1.
And the one thing that we see already, quick tempo, already back up on the rubber, ready to go.
Count is full. They say Norris does not shy away from The strike zone. Fly ball lifted toward right center. Pompey back after this one near the track and makes the catch. 2 gone.
Well, he may want to start expanding that strike zone when he's getting ahead, because these Ray hitters are taking some healthy hacks at that fastball.
Well, he was touched for a couple of home runs in his outing against the Yankees. Alex Rodriguez and Mark Teixeira got him. And now Souza here tonight. 1 strike to count on Evan Longoria. One and one.
Daniel Norris and his rise through the minor leagues. He started the season last year at high A ball at Dunedin in the Florida State League, ended it in the big leagues with the Blue Jays.
Yeah, he went Dunedin, then New Hampshire, Double A, and Buffalo. He pitched in 5 games at Triple A and 4 starts. How about that? 4 starts at Triple A, and here he is in the rotation for the Blue Jays this year.
And in his time in the minor leagues, those 3 stops, 124 and a third innings, 163 strikeouts, just under 12 strikeouts per 9. Speaks to his stuff.
And he strikes out Longoria. Fastball at 93. Rays are out. They get a run on the home run from Steven Souza Jr. Bottom of the first coming. Rays 1. Toronto coming into bat. There's that long shot to center. Up for Toronto, presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Jose Reyes, followed by Dalton Pompey and Jose Bautista. Encarnacion, Donaldson, and Navarro down the middle. Martin, Pilar, and Travis completing the starting 9. Matt Andriese out there. His first pitch is low out of the zone to Reyes. 25-year-old right-hander. Reyes takes it down. 11 wins last year at AAA Durham. And he gets a strike barked out by Corey Blazier, 33-year-old umpire, working the plate. Ground ball to the right side, and Logan Forsythe takes care of Reyes.
Well, let's take a look at a scouting report here on Matt Andriese and what he'd like to accomplish tonight. Keep infielders busy. You know, he's got that good sinker, cutter, changeup. He wants to work in the bottom half of the strike zone. A lot of ground balls. The question, he's a durable guy, but how long would the leash be tonight? He's thrown just 2 innings since March the 30th, and repeatable delivery with deception. He's got a little bit of cross-fire action, but he's able to repeat it. And that's not easy to do. A lot of times when a guy's got, just a little bit of deception in the delivery, it can go haywire quickly. Matt Andriese, that is not an issue.
1-0 to Pompey. Young switch hitter takes a big cut and misses. It's 1-1. Andriese coming over from the San Diego Padres. Now 2-1. He was part of the 7-player trade in January of 14. Two and two. And when the Rays got him, they felt that because of the approach he has with that sinker, he could be a guy who could give them some innings. You see, they got Brad Boxberger in that deal along with Logan Forsythe. Alex Torres went the other way with Jesse Hahn. The count is full to Pompey.
Well, typically what you get with big league starters that are sinker ballers is consistency. You know what they're going to do. That ball's going to be moving down. They're going to keep the ball on the ground. And that's what the Rays are hoping for here tonight.
Ground ball headed toward the middle and a nice backhanded stop. Very good play by Forsythe to get it over to Rivera. And this turf, because it's so slow, it's new. That may help Andriese tonight.
Yeah, that'll absolutely make guys' range a little bit better. And with a sinker baller out there, it's going to be a good night. Here's the defense for the Rays. Geyer, Jennings, and Souza in the outfield. Across the infield, a different look with the sinker baller. Longoria, Beckham at short. Get Forsythe and Rivera over at first.
Bautista takes the pitch outside. Rene Rivera at first base. He's played a number of games in the minor leagues and in winter ball at first. Was there 3 times last year with the San Diego Padres. So it is not a completely unfamiliar spot for Rene Rivera.
Well, they wanted to get Asdrubal Cabrera a designated hitter day, and they also wanted to fill up that lineup with right-handed hitters. Bobby Wilson's going to get the call behind the plate. Rivera goes down to first. Of course, Beckham fills in for Cabrera at short.
Out of play, takes the count to 2-2. Andriese got a lot of work this spring. He was in 7 games, made 5 starts in the spring.
Well, they got him ramped up early and then really backed off. He had that 1 inning that he threw against the Marlins in Miami. He had 1 inning in that exhibition game against the Tigers on April the 4th. Outside of that, since March the 30th, that's it. He's got 2 innings of work.
Whoop. Bautista hit by that pitch.
Wow.
3-2. And he heads to first.
Just trying to overthrow that fastball, and it got away from him big time. I mean, this is just up and in, and
got him there on the upper arm near the shoulder. There's Edwin Encarnacion. He takes a big cut. When doesn't he? Strike 1. One wide. The Rays did stretch Andriese out to 78 pitches in the spring, but as you mentioned, not a lot of work recently. So it'll be interesting to see how far he can go tonight.
Well, especially when you think that I believe that outing was March the 25th. So you go back now almost 3 weeks and you hit 78 pitches just one time.
Yeah.
And so, obviously it's going to kind of fall off from there. So you just wonder what kind of work he's been doing behind the scenes. Probably not much because they've needed him down in that bullpen.
Chopper. It's Longoria and a strike to first. 3 ground balls and a man left. We're at the end of an inning and the Rays lead 1-0. Let's go places. Stand by Bank United. Bank United offers a variety of checking, savings, money market accounts. Visit any Tampa location to open your account today. 1-0 Rays. Desmond Jennings opens inning 2. And now he is brushed by that pitch. And Corey Blazer out from behind the plate here. So Jennings is aboard. How about that?
Well, it makes you wonder. I mean, you got that fastball that hit Jose Bautista squarely up and in. Got him in the back of that arm, rib cage area, and then the first pitch of the inning, they go in on Desmond. And he was able to wiggle out of the way, but just brushed him. So I think there's a little tit for tat going on here.
Well, Logan Forsythe up there. The pitch is a ball. The Rays have the leadoff man on. It's always interesting when those things happen. And we were talking a little bit between innings. You wouldn't think that with a full count you'd go that deep before you'd maybe try to hit a guy. Ball popping loose, and down to second base goes Jennings. The Rays have that runner in scoring position now.
Well, especially with the fact that you know that his pitches are going to be limited anyway. I don't know why you'd waste 6 or 7. And right there, obviously, behind the plate, Russell Martin not anticipating that pitch, just boxed it. And great anticipation by Desmond Jennings and moving up to second base.
So pass ball charged to Russell Martin. Forsythe takes it foul the other way.
Yeah, that was at least 6 or 7 pitches into that at bat when he,
Yeah,
but
it was 6 pitches in.
There you go. You wouldn't think that, but at the same time, if you were going to hit somebody, that's exactly where you would hit them.
That's right. We did both look at each other when that happened and wondered. Count still 1-2 to Forsythe, and then you come right out first pitch to Jennings.
Yeah,
Hello.
right. Now you know that one was. I'll tell you what, Daniel Norris is probably lamenting the fact that he didn't get Desmond solid, that it was just a off the jersey.
Desmond too quick in there.
Yep.
Two balls, 2 strikes. And the count is full on the breaking ball. Well, one of the things they've liked about Daniel Norris in the time they've had him as he's ascended through the minor leagues is a clean delivery. Full count to Forsythe. Logan extending this at bat with a foul ball.
Any pitching coach would love to have a staff of guys that had clean deliveries, repeatable deliveries. It allows you to be consistent in your release point. And when you're able to have a repeatable delivery, the release point's always the same, well, then that's when you start being able to command the baseball.
Upstairs, he misses high with the fastball, and the Rays have 2 men on with nobody out in the second inning. Well, the Rays want to take advantage of these opportunities when they come early. Cash in on them. Rene Rivera at first base tonight. 0 for 3 last night on when he was hit by a pitch by the knuckleballer R.A. Dickey. Runners take off. A cut and a miss. Go to third. Safe there. Jennings to the back of the bag, and the Rays pull off a double steal on the very first pitch to Rivera.
Well, one trend that we're already starting to see is Kevin Cash a fan of the double steal. We've seen that a number of times here through the first week plus of the season. Off and running, Desmond Jennings going to the back of the bag. That forces Josh Donaldson to have to make a long tag. Wasn't able to do it.
Ground ball, third base side scoop by Donaldson. And the throw to first in time. Donaldson with that big scoop. You know, that's the thing about him. He made a few errors last year in the American League with Oakland out west. But he has great range at third base, so he's going to get to more balls than most third basemen.
And that's a do or die type scoop play. Those are very difficult. He made it look pretty easy, but it's away from you. It's an in-between hop, and he just comes up with it clean and gets that out over at first base. No advancement by the Rays.
Here is Tim Beckham. He takes a strike. Breaking pitch. Forsythe second, Jennings at third. Beckham getting his second start of the year tonight. He had started at second base in the Baltimore series and at shortstop here tonight. Boy, he had some great at-bats in the Miami series. Coming off the bench. A 10-pitch at bat, hit a home run. And to left, lifted to Pilar. He'll make the catch. Jennings with the tag. He's going to score. And the ball backed up by the catcher, Martin. And I think Donaldson lost that maybe in the lights coming in from his reaction. At any rate, the Rays get a run, and Forsythe remains at second on the fly ball by Beckham.
You know, we talk in these situations, second and third, the hitter wants to get a pitch that's elevated to get it out to the outfield, to drive that run in. Tim Beckham did a great job of going down and getting a pitch below the zone and able to elevate it out there for the sacrifice fly.
Well, another great at bat for Beckham.
Yeah.
He's had a great road trip that way. Here's Bobby Wilson starting behind the plate tonight. One and 0. Hot shot picked up by Reyes. The throw to first is going to be in time to retire the side. The Rays get a run. Go to the bottom of the second. 2-0 Tampa Bay.
Rivera making his fourth major league start at first base, normally the Rays' everyday catcher. Here are his thoughts about what the most challenging aspect of tonight will be.
Be ready for the situation. I think that the most you have to worry about is bonding. You know, people bonding there and know if you're gonna get it or the pitchers can get it. So I mean, it's something that you're keeping in mind. But like I say, I played there a lot this winter, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job there.
Guys, he mentioned he played there in winter ball to take the wear and tear off his knees behind the plate. And the funny thing is, even though he does have his own first baseman mitt from winter ball and previous experience, he doesn't have it on this road trip. So tonight, he is using the Logan Forsythe first base glove. Back to you.
The Logan Forsythe model.
You know what? As long as it works.
Yep. Well, on this club, you need multiple gloves. That's the way the Rays roll, and they have for quite some time now. Deep short. Beckham was able to recover it, but not in time to make a play on the sharply hit ball by Josh Donaldson. And even if he comes up with that ball, it's a question as whether you can get the ball across the diamond in time.
I think it was hit sharply enough that Beckham would have had a pretty good chance. Watch Donaldson get into this. Yeah, he absolutely, it's a long throw, but he's got a strong enough arm. Just could not come up clean off the heel of the glove, the thumb, and up in the air.
So Donaldson is aboard for Deoner Navarro. Pitch is wide.
You know, that was the one thing that I found interesting about this Rays lineup. With the sinker baller on the mound, you got Tim Beckham out at short, who has not been able to log a whole lot of time there since spring training. And then Rene Rivera, of course, we've already talked about the fact that just his fourth start at first base, two important infield positions with a guy who wants to use those infielders.
Navarro ahead in the count, 2-0. Donaldson at first. They give him a hit. Navarro ahead in the count. And now 3-0. Ball 4. No trouble here with the first 2 men on base to open the bottom of the second.
That's going to bring out Jim Hickey real quick to talk to Matt Andriese. Maybe something mechanical. Maybe just get his mind back in and remind him, hey, as a sinker ball guy, you got runners on base. You're 1 pitch away. You're 1 pitch away from getting 2 quick outs. So that's what he's probably encouraging him with right here. Get the ball back down in the zone out over the plate. Let the action take it down and try to work yourself a ground ball here.
Yeah, not only the maybe the hit batter and the walk here to give you an indication that he is not where he'd like to be, but he's had just 1 first pitch strike of the first 6 hitters he's faced. He'll face Russell Martin. Martin 1 for 19 to start the year for the Blue Jays. A strike in there around the knees. Martin trying to work his way out of a slow start. Has seen a lot of pitches per at bat. And 2 quick strikes now from Andriese.
Well, and he's gotten right back down in the zone, aggressive, and now pitching ahead. This is textbook by Andriese. Both of these pitches right at the bottom of the zone. That's where he would love to take up residency.
And a cut and a miss. So he got him on 3 pitches, and that's exactly what Andriese was looking for.
How about the sequencing there? Fastball down and away at the bottom, strike 1. Fastball at the kneecap, strike 2. And then elevate the fastball. You get Russell Martin looking down, and then come up.
You know, we saw him do that in the outing he had in the spring, that last extended one. Here's a guy who's a sinker ball guy, but capable of coming up and up high enough so that you're not in danger territory.
Yeah, that's not easy to do, because these guys are programmed down, and then to make that 1 pitch up.
Kevin Pillar lays off the pitch for a ball.
But guess what? That sequence that he just put together right there to strike a guy out, you're not going to do it any prettier than that.
Yeah, those first 2 pitches, the greatest location down that you can find. And he misses a little wide. 2-0. Andriese made 20 pitches in the first inning. 3 ground ball outs and went 3-2 on Bautista and hit him. Hot shot foul. The count squares at 2-2.
I think the capacity here at Rogers Center just went down by 1, because that line drive just tore a seat right out of here. That was a rocket.
Fly ball into left. Geyer's going to go to the wall for it with room and make the catch. A couple steps in front of the fence. 2 gone.
Did not get all the way extended. Kevin Pillar, a nice swing on that pitch, but was not able to fully extend the arms and get that last little bit of drive and carry, and it ends up just short. A good look at it right here. This ball up, but you can see Pillar just doesn't catch it quite clean enough. and doesn't get that full extension. Out number 2.
Here's Devon Travis. Blue Jays really like his game. Jam, nice pitch to chop it to third. Boy, what a pitch by Andriese to end the inning. 2 men left and the Rays lead 2-0. The Rays Flex Pack by selecting any 3, 6, or 9 games during the 15 season with no blackout dates. Get a Rays tumbler with each pack purchase. Get your Flex Pack and save 50% today calling 888-FAN-RAYS. Brandon Guyer takes a fastball to open the third. 1 ball, no strikes. Upstairs, 2-0. Top of the order, Guyer, Souza, and then Cabrera. Popped up. Martin gives it a look, but it's out of play. 2-1. Strike on the inside edge. 2-2.
Well, the problem with that and where the Rays could take advantage is Daniel Norris wanted that pitch on the outside edge. Location and command just not quite there yet for Daniel Norris.
Pitch drops low. So we have a full count. Hot shot and a liner into left. Villar angles toward the corner, and Guyer angles for a double. He's in there safely. Now Brandon Guyer opens the inning with his second double of the year. Let's check in with Todd Callis, who's in an interesting part of this ballpark.
Sidelines Restaurant, Dwayne. Very far from home plate. In fact, nobody here usually anticipates a baseball landing. Dan, were you shocked to have your dinner interrupted?
I was really shocked to have my dinner interrupted. We thought it was going to be way short.
Guys, this is a rare territory for a fly ball, home run, anything to land, BP or otherwise. Talking to some Blue Jays people, the only time they can remember this happening was in 1991. That was when Cecil Fielder in a home run derby hit one up here. Other than that, they can't remember anything else. I mean, you could almost stand at second base, and it'll probably be a 400-foot shot from there. This is unbelievable how far away from home plate this is, guys. The Sightlines Restaurant, above where the old Windows restaurant used to be, Even Carlos Delgado hit a few on the roof, but I'm not sure if he ever got one up here. Back to you.
It was 106.4 miles per hour coming off Souza Jr.'s bat. There's the hit speed, 106.4.
And it still carried it right out of that camera shot. That was titanic.
Close there on a fastball, and it's 1-2.
Well, a lot of these fastballs from Daniel Norris, he has tried to go away and yanked in. It makes you wonder with that hit by pitch with Desmond Jennings if that was just mislocation.
Well, a couple things on each one of the hit batters. I mean, you wonder on the first one to Bautista, you got 2 outs, but you go 3-2.
Yeah.
Well, normally you're not going to do that. And then if you're going to answer that, you might not do it on the first pitch to the leadoff guy. The next inning, you might get a couple of outs first and then go to work on that.
Especially when the leadoff guy has speed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're just sending Desmond Jennings, who, by the way, we've already seen him wreaking havoc on the base paths in this series. So, you know, that would be a tough call. And the way that he's been yanking that fastball, he was trying to go in on Desmond Jennings, and he just yanked it in, perhaps, because he's been missing with that heater here in the early going.
And he went around. Souza Jr. thought he had checked, and Jeff Nelson said he did not, and is out on strikes.
Off-speed delivery, and boy, that is really, really close. Really close. You saw the bat head. There was a lot of whip to that bat head. That's what Jeff Nelson saw and prompted him to call.
One out in the third. Second strikeout for Norris. Now Cabrera takes a strike. The pitch made up just as the second baseman Travis was headed to the bag. Cabrera could do nothing but take that pitch and lean back. It's now 2-1. Toward the right side. Bautista back to make the catch. A tag, and Geyer's going to advance to third. Bautista trying to get himself into position to maybe prevent Geyer from advancing, but he had to hesitate getting the ball out of his glove, and Geyer into third base without a problem.
Geyer's got good enough foot speed, and that ball was deep enough. It'd have been very difficult for Jose Bautista to make a play of that. And the Rays 90 feet closer to another run.
Now Evan Longoria trying to pick up another run with 2 outs. Pitch is upstairs.
You can see where we've talked about Daniel Norris and the command a little bit off. You can see why. You know, he does have a clean delivery, but at times he will land on that heel with that stiff front leg, and that can throw things off. We'll see him. You see how he kind of rolls over that plant leg. And we've seen him carry a couple of those fastballs with him.
Struck out Longoria the first time around. And he got him to chase there. Pretty good 2-0 pitch.
Yeah, a 2-0 changeup, and Evan Longoria, I think, had made up his mind that he was going to take a rip. He sold out on that swing, and that ball was nowhere close.
Now it's 3-1. Daniel Norris, 21 years old, out of Johnson City, Tennessee. Rays got a run in the first on the long home run by Steven Souza Jr. And another run in the second. Foul ball runs the count all the way out to 3-2. Evan looking for his first hit in this series, 0 for 4 last night. And just got a piece of it to stay alive.
That changeup had enough elevation to it that Evan Longoria was able to just tap it with the end of his bat. If that is down at all, it's probably straight 3 inning over. But Evan stays alive.
3-2 again. And again a foul ball. Came back with a fastball. Rays winning last night 2-1. Trying to pick up their third run of this game. Gonna have to do it with 2 outs after getting the leadoff double from Geyer. And ball 4. So Longoria heads to first. Well, there's Daniel Norris and his VW van.
On the way to the game today.
Apparently, he used that in spring training. We thought he might be camped out down on the lakefront here. But he has not done that and has found other housing. That's quite a story, isn't it?
Truly.
I mean, he's an outdoorsman to the point of living in that van during spring training.
The mystery machine.
Yep. He's got some solar power in there. Heats his own coffee in the morning.
Gotta have the morning Joe.
Yeah. He said he was baptized in a baseball uniform just to acknowledge his gift. And here he is in the big leagues, just a few days short of his 22nd birthday. Desmond Jennings trying to pick up another run off him. There's a strike.
Well, it's been a remarkable journey. And drafted out of high school, second round, 2011, and the way that he sped through the system. And here he is, 21 years old.
Fly ball back into left, sending Pilar back. He has plenty of room to make the catch. Rays lead 2 and lead 2-0.
Let's take a look at our Buick big matchup. Matt Andriese, Russell Martin, perfectly placed fastball, strike one. Going to come back with another right at the bottom of the zone, strike two. And then how about some elevation? Right through the swing of Russell Martin. You cannot put together a sequence any better than Matt Andriese did right there.
So as we go to the bottom of the third, there's a first pitch strike to Jose Reyes, the top of the order. See 36 pitches for Andriese. Reyes showing bunt, taking that pitch for a ball. Into left, here comes Geyer on the run, he's got it. Leadoff man retired.
Important to keep Jose Reyes off the base paths with his ability to steal a bag and be a distraction. It almost looked like he was going to be able to drop that one in there, but Geyer closed nicely and made the play.
Yeah, that's the first order of business against this team. Just facing Bautista and Encarnacion and now Donaldson. Enough of a distraction in and of itself. Dalton Pompey, the young outfielder. There's a strike. Blue Jays acquired Michael Saunders in the J. Happ deal with Seattle. And he figures to play every day. He was hurt early in spring training, and that opened an opportunity. And in steps Pompey. Up the middle, knocked down by Forsythe, and no play at first.
Well, where Jose Reyes can be a distraction, so can Dalton Pompey. As you saw his speed and ability to get down the first base line right there. A nice attempt by Logan Forsythe with a dive, but right off the thumb of the glove. It does bounce right back to his throwing hand, but by that time, Pompey's speed allowed him to beat it out.
Forsythe had made an outstanding play on the ball he hit in the first to retire him. Stopped this one, but it's an infield hit. And here's Jose Bautista with the shift on. The pitch is away. 1 ball, no strikes. Bautista on 3 times last night. He walked 3 times, and the ball he hit was lined sharply to third to Evan Longoria. And then first time up tonight with the count 3-2. Bautista was drilled. Two and 0.
This is what the Blue Jays envision with this lineup, too. You've got that 2-headed monster at the top of the lineup with good speed, Reyes and Pompey, and then the 3 mashers coming right after him. It definitely divides your mind.
He's out of play and runs the count to 2-1. Well, Pompey, we talked about him last year being at Dunedin for a good part of last year and then zooming through AA and AAA to get to the big leagues for 17 games at the end of the year. He stole 44 bases combined last year, including 1 when he got to the Blue Jays. Has 1 this year in 1 attempt. There he goes. Good jump. The pitch is fouled back.
He would have stole that standing up. Absolutely right on the money, Dwayne. That was a great jump. And Matt Andriese not real quick to the plate there, and he had that swiped easy.
And when you're trying to shut down somebody's running game, you're talking fractions of seconds to make a difference between success and failure to do that. He goes again, and it's foul, out of play again.
Well, it really just becomes a simple math problem.
Yeah.
How long does it take the base runner with his normal lead to get to second base? They've got that timed out. They know how long it takes these guys.
Yeah.
And then how quick is my pitcher to the plate, and how quickly does my catcher receive and get the throw down to second?
Yeah. And
1 + 1
and the pitcher's got to unload that delivery quickly to give your catcher any chance. He can have the greatest arm going, and if you don't get it there in that proper time frame, you're just not going to throw a good runner out.
Well, they want you down in that 1-1, 1-2 range.
Yeah.
You get up into the 1-4s, the 1-5s,
No
it becomes
chance.
a track meet.
Yeah.
With good base
How
stealers.
about that? The difference between 1-1 or 1-2 and 1-4. I mean, you're done.
Yeah. And that catcher, your catcher has got to be under 2 by the time that ball hits his glove till it hits the second base or shortstop glove at second.
Yep.
You got about 2 seconds or less, fewer than that, to play with. That's it. That's how quickly it's got to be turned around.
Full count to Bautista.
Unofficially, we had Matt Andriese at 1.3 on that last pitch, previous pitch. Unofficial, though. You know, it's just like the combine. You got to wait and get the official from Jim Hickey.
Runner goes, and it's shot foul, third base side. Well, I'll say this. Whatever it is, Pompey's getting great jumps on first. But you see 1-3, and you're approaching see you later.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause you're right. You've got to be 1-1, 1-2.
Or you have, you know, one thing that can help you is varying your times, trying not to let a base runner get comfortable, have him sink into his heels a little bit.
Goes again. Liner into center field. Jennings closes, and back to first goes Pompey. So the line drive retires Bautista.
Boy, what a frustrating sequence there for the Blue Jays. You got Pompey that's going to steal this bag pretty easily just about every time that he goes. You have continual foul balls by Bautista, works a long good at bat, and then hits a rope while he's going. And it just ends up being an F7, maybe an L7 in the book.
Edwin Encarnacion. He's at first base tonight. Encarnacion out third to first, his first time. High fly ball, right center, and Jennings is there to catch this one. Blue Jays are out in the third, leaving a man. We go to the fourth, 2-0 Rays. And tonight's memorable moments in Rays history brought to you by Geico. On this date in 1999, Jose Canseco homers off Kelvin Escobar to get to 400 in his career. First pitch to Logan Forsythe is a strike. Doesn't seem as if it were that long ago. Earlier, like 2 days earlier in that series, he hit one of the longer home runs ever hit here when he connected off Graham Lloyd, and it traveled 459 feet. Two balls and a strike, and Canseco, for the longest time, had the longest home run hit here when he was with Oakland. He had one 480 feet to left. Reyes handles this one, and Forsythe is out. He hit that home run playing for, at the time, the Devil Rays. There you go. A big shot in the playoffs in October of '89. Right back up in there. 480 feet. Rene Rivera. The pitch is high. Two and 0. Manny Ramirez hit one in 2001. And that was over 490. And Steven Souza Jr. hit one a ton to center field here tonight. Interrupted a couple dinners out there.
Well, Todd, you know, he made a good point. If you went out to second base, stood at second base with a fungo, you'd have a hard time whacking one and getting it there.
Wave and a miss. Ramirez out on strikes for the second out.
That just shows you the kind of power. I mean, Daniel Norris has a nice firm fastball, but Steven Souza Jr., when his swing is short and compact, he's a strong guy. You know, 6'4", 220 some odd pounds. He can create some tremendous bat speed, and that's what he did there. And you combine the bat speed with the fastball perfect contact, and you get 106.4 and about 550 feet.
Strike one to Tim Beckham. So this is the first time in this game that Norris has retired the first two Rays hitters in any inning. Beckham sends it to right field. Bautista retreats toward the corner and makes the catch. It's a 1-2-3 fourth. 2-0 Tampa Bay. At our Toyota Trends, where the Rays have been as good as you can be on the road since 2010. In fact, they're the best you can be, with a .537 road winning percentage in that stretch.
What the Rays do very, very well travels very well, and that's pitching and defense. And their guys go on the road. They're not worried about hostile environments or where they're playing. They just go out, they execute, they pitch well, they catch the ball, and numbers speak for themselves.
Josh Donaldson to lead off the bottom of the fourth. And Reese misses low. 1 ball, no strikes. One.
Haven't seen too many of those. Matt Andriese heavy with that fastball. He's got the changeup, the curveball. He'll throw a cutter and a slider.
1-2 now.
In fact, that cutter slider hybrid to right-handers, he'll try to get a little bit more depth with it, make the break a little bit bigger, and with the lefties try to shorten it up and make it more of a true cutter.
2-2.
Either way, he doesn't throw anything straight.
Boy, how the Rays would love for him to get 6 more outs with no damage. After being so limited.
Yeah.
Had the 1 inning out of the bullpen. Now his first big league start. Pretty close, but it's ball 3. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Just one hitter at a time is what Andriese is trying to do. He's struck out 1. He's walked 1, hit a man. Gave up a hit in the second, another hit in the third. And a base hit by Donaldson. Donaldson has 2 of the 3 hits allowed by Andriese.
Well, Andriese is going to stay in the strike zone. It's a full count. Josh Donaldson, good hitter in this Toronto lineup, just finds a hole. The one thing that we have seen here with the limited work that Andriese has had in the last couple of weeks, his stuff, and this is where it plays into him being a durable starter. There's been no drop off in the stuff. Still late life, good movement. The velocities have stayed consistent. That'll be something to watch from here on out.
Leonard Navarro, the designated hitter in this game, and he takes it low.
Well, they're giving Deanna Navarro the third base line. And outside of that, everybody kind of swung over just a little bit.
One and one.
You just kind of pinch the field. If Navarro wants to hit a sinker the other way, more than likely he's going to hit it right at Evan Longoria, who's right here. And then you've got Tim Beckham shading up the middle. Logan Forsythe at his traditional second base spot, looking for a ball on the ground.
That's a strike. Gives Andriese the advantage in the count. Two and two. Rays have 2 runs, 2 hits, no runs, and 3 hits for the Blue Jays. Hot shot through the right side. Donaldson advances to second. Now the Blue Jays have the first two men on. Navarro's been on each time up there.
Ball was well struck by Navarro, and it almost clipped Josh Donaldson. This pitch stays up and out over, and Navarro, boy, get that right foot out of the way.
Now it's Russell Martin. Martin struck out his first time. Andriese made two great pitches at the knees. Boy, there's a nice pitch with some good dart to it.
That's that slider that he'll throw to the righties, and it did have good dart, good depth. There's a good look at it right here as you see that ball just slide right off the plate.
One and one.
Tried to come right back with it and got around that one just a little bit. Hand drops down, elbow drops just a little bit. That ball stays flat and up.
And a foul ball back. That fastball up a little bit, and it's 1-2. And you know, you have to wonder, he's into his fourth inning, and sometimes you'll see pitchers start to leave pitches up because of the fatigue factor.
No question.
He's been up with the last couple pitches.
Yep. Ever since that second strike to Navarro.
Up and in there.
That one by design. You could see that from catcher Bobby Wilson was calling for that pitch up.
Two men on with nobody out. A 2-2 count on Martin. And a nice pitch there with great finish. That darted away from him, and he picks up his second strikeout. Very nice right there.
He started him off and finished him with the same pitch. That nasty little short, quick slider.
Now here's Kevin Pillar.
That may have been a changeup. A changeup to the glove side, which is a tough pitch to execute.
That's a strike. I'll tell you, he's got nice little finish on it if it is.
Yeah, 86 miles an hour, and it did. It had, well, he doesn't throw anything straight. You know, those sinker ballers cut, sink, slide, curve, the change.
Ground ball headed toward the middle. That's going to get through. Donaldson heads to the plate. That makes it 2-1. So Pillar puts Toronto on the scoreboard.
The Rays have been excellent at their defensive positioning here in the early part of the season, but on this particular hitter here, Pillar, they had Tim Beckham over in the hole just a little bit.
So the Rays take a little time with Jim Hickey out there on the mound. 3 hits and a run in the inning, first and second with 1 out. Kirby Yates is now up in the bullpen. I was asking a lot of Andriese to pitch much deeper into this game. You'd love to see him go 5, but it would really be quite an accomplishment to do that. Now here's Devon Travis. goes in, and he takes the pitch for a ball. He went in on him in the second inning and got a little ground ball to third, right on the thumbs.
Yeah, that ball did. It took off in, and Travis thinks that he's getting a fastball out over the plate, and he got jammed something fierce.
Ground ball. Should be 2. Forsythe, Beckham 1, and no throw to first. So the inning continues with Navarro moving to third.
Well, you know, we talked about it earlier in the game. Tim Beckham not logging a whole lot of time out at shortstop recently. Had that hot hit by Donaldson go off the glove, and then here a tailor-made double play to get out of this inning, and he just cannot get the ball out of his glove. Nice feed here by Forsythe right across the bag. Just never was able to cleanly remove the ball from the glove and make the throw.
A little time while John Gibbons decides whether he wants them to take a look at that play or not at second, but he was out.
Yeah, I think that there was that little bobble afterwards, and so he's maybe saying, did he ever have control of the baseball? Well, he did. It was on the transfer.
And now Kevin Cash out, and that's going to be it for Matt Andriese. So Andriese departs here in the fourth, with the Rays leading 2-1. With the Rays holding a 2-1 lead. 72 pitches for Andriese. Well, you got to give him kudos for the performance he turned in tonight.
No doubt. 2 innings pitched in the last 2 weeks, and he battled here tonight. Not as sharp as he would have liked, but he did have some good sequencing. He's made pitches when he's needed to, and quite frankly, this inning should be over.
Yeah.
That should have been a ground ball double play, and he gets his 4 innings in 72 pitches. That's not the case, but overall, I think Matt Andriese went out and did what you hoped that he could. You wanted the 5, obviously, but that was going to have to be a perfect outing. It wasn't that, but he battled, and he still leaves the game with his team in the lead.
So now Kirby Yates makes his 4th appearance. Comes in with a couple men on. Travis at first and Navarro at third. It'll be the top of the order. And Jose Reyes. First pitch is a strike. Well, Andriese went tight twice through the order. And under the circumstances, the Rays will be happy to take that.
But the other thing that he did is he showed you glimpses of what he's capable of. And he's got a lot of weapons to be able to attack a lineup with. Good moving fastball. We saw some good changeups, good sliders, cutters.
Yeah, he didn't do anything to hurt his cause tonight.
Not at all.
It's shooting to that same spot and missed. It's 2-1.
Jose Reyes has an awful lot of room to play with on the left side. I mean, he is a slap hitter. Yates is working him away, and you see the gap right here.
Liner into right center field. Cut off by Jennings. Navarro has scored. Travis stopped to third on the double, and the game is tied. Third double of the year for Reyes.
Reyes, that short, quick stroke of his, and I'll tell you what, he popped that ball pretty good out into right center field. Kirby Yates trying to go back away. That pitch stayed flat and out over. Nice job out there in center field by Desmond Jennings to cut that ball off and keep Travis at third.
Blue Jays have their offense come to life here with a couple runs, 4 hits in the inning. Dalton Pompey in the box with 2 men in scoring position. Nice stop by Wilson. 2-1.
Yeah, that was a difficult pitch too, because Kirby Yates is going to snap off a slider in the dirt and watch Bobby Wilson just smother it.
Well, he did everything right that time as a catcher. That's exactly what you want him to do. On the corner. 2-1. Pompey got a base hit up the middle in the third on a ball that Forsythe knocked down. Logan made a good play on him back in the first to get him at first. 2-1 the count. Fastball by him. 2-2.
Just challenged him with 92. A little elevation to it. And now Yates has got some options. He can go back up with the fastball. He can shoot for that outside corner again.
Well, Wilson trots to the mound. Make sure they're on the same page.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they decide to go with here. But, you know, another option he's got is to go to the off speed. Yeah. Anytime that you beat a hitter either close to him or up in the zone with a fastball, they immediately start speeding up their swing in their mind. And that's where they can be susceptible to the off speed.
And the Rays pitchers have confidence in Wilson behind the plate, and we saw why a couple pitches ago. And he fouls this one back.
Just don't hang it.
Yeah.
He got away with that one.
A little scary right there. Boy, that's a tough spot for a pitcher. Even when you have confidence in that catcher, I mean, you want to finish that pitch, even if it's in the dirt. Finish it.
Yeah. You have to.
He got him. Went up with him on the fastball and strikes him out. So a couple runs across the plate. We go to the fifth, and it's tied 2-2. Checkers Authentic Philly Cheesesteak, or try the new Meatball Sub. Pick yours, 2 for $5. And by Sea-Doo Spark, the most affordable watercraft on the water, starting at only $49.99 or as low as $79 a month. Rays facing the 21-year-old left-hander Daniel Norris tonight. Bobby Wilson takes the first pitch here in the 5th for a strike. Wilson, Geyer, and then Souza Jr. do in what is now a tie game.
Well, and you don't want Daniel Norris to start to settle in. The one thing that the Rays lineup did the first 3 innings is force him to work hard. 4th inning, different story. 1, 2, 3.
Pitch came back but was low, and it's 2-1. High pop foul, straight back, out of play. 2-2. Rays won last night 2-1. They finished the Miami series with wins of 2-0 and 8-5. Wilson fouls it back. Two popped up. Donaldson coming in, and Martin is there about a third of the way down the third base line. 1 out in the 5th inning. Don't miss the AL East showdown when the Rays battle the Yankees Saturday, April 18th. You'll bend over backwards for the Alex Cobb Gumby, available to all fans while supplies last. For tickets, call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. Rays up. Brandon Geyer fouls it off his foot. Ball bounding out to Norris. Strike the count. Well, Norris came to the Blue Jays camp with the idea that he would compete for a spot in their rotation. And when Marcus Stroman tore his left ACL, that opened a spot for him. Stroman out for the year, and Norris has stepped right into that opportunity and is in their rotation. Two and one.
The Blue Jays, that was a big blow, because you've got the veterans Dickey and Burley, and then you started thinking about some of their youngsters with Hutchison and Stroman and Sanchez and Norris. There's 6 right there, and Marcus Stroman was going to be counted on as being one of the young lead starters.
Well, he won 11 games. He was 11-6 for them last year. Only 23 years old.
Very impressive debut. And then to have him go down like he did when he did, hugely disappointing.
Geyer reaching out to extend the at bat with that foul ball.
Managers and GMs will tell you, hey, listen, it's unfortunate, but next man up. Next man, someone's got to step forward, and that man right now is Daniel Norris, and he won his first time out.
And now Geyer has worked the count full. He went 3-2 in the 3rd and doubled to left.
I'll tell you, Russell Martin has had a rough night back behind the plate tonight. And that is gold.
And ball 4. So the Rays get a base runner in the game tonight, and all season long. Tires Plus donates $100 for the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports. Steven Souza Jr. got into one in the 1st inning and hit it out to straightaway center field. Jim Thome back in the 90s hit one to straightaway center, hit it into the restaurant. They estimated that at 483 feet. So you figure that drive by Souza somewhere in that neighborhood.
Always leery of the numbers. You know, you look at out at dead center field,
yep,
and just off center is 400 feet, and then where that ball hit, and then you think, okay, if that center field is not there,
yeah,
that's got to be more than 480.
Yeah,
but they take it to the point. You know, they don't figure it in. You know, it dropping down anymore. That ball is wrecked.
Pretty good shot for
yeah.
sure.
Wish there was a way that they could finish the trajectory based on the angle and speed that it left the bat. We already know that. And where would it then land?
Mm-hmm. They've attempted to do that. It's hard to figure out the exact accuracy of that. Souza disrupted the gentleman's dinner out there. Had more than a fly in his soup. He had a long fly ball in his soup that time. And it got out there in a hurry. 106.4 miles per hour off the bat. Two and one. One on with one out. Tie game. Top of the fifth. 2-2. A little bit of that one to stay alive on the foul ball. The bouncer back. Runner goes, and a swing and a miss. Down to second base goes Geyer. So Geyer on the move as Souza strikes out. That pitch bounding away. Souza out on strikes, and Geyer will get the stolen base.
A little off-speed delivery there, down. Geyer off and running.
Geyer's second steal of the year. Souza with first base technically occupied, out on strikes. And with the ball getting away and Geyer breaking, he's credited with a stolen base. Here's Cabrera. Let's see if the Rays can get this man home with two outs. Strike one to Asdrubal Cabrera.
Cabrera, known throughout his career, left-handed hitter. He's got a little bit more pop, but right-handed, a better contact guy, a better average guy. And that's all you need right here, a little base hit.
Pops it up. Encarnacion. A foul ball, and the Rays are out in the fifth. We're still tied 2-2. Blue Jays 2 in the 4th. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for the Mazda Wednesday night showdown. Mark Burley, the veteran lefty, on the mound for Toronto, and the Rays have yet to announce what they're going to do, so that's an extra reason you might want to tune in, see who's going to pitch for the Rays tomorrow. Well, it's been a challenge with 4 starters on the disabled list and a closer on the DL. Jose Bautista leads off, and the pitch to him is a strike. Kirby Yates came on, faced 2 men in the 4th inning to close that out. Matt Andriese gave up 2 runs in 3 2/3. 0-2.
There was some thought and talk that if the Rays were able to stay away from Erasmo Ramirez, he could be a guy that would take that start tomorrow. We'll have to see how it all plays out, but they've got a plan in place, one way or the other.
Yeah, they usually have at least 1, maybe 2 or 3 plans.
Yeah. Contingencies, Dwayne.
Yep, that's right. Well, we've heard Jose Dominguez mentioned, and he is at Durham, a hard-throwing right-hander. Towering fly ball to left. Geyer is there. And so that is out number 1. Speaking of starting pitching, let's go to Todd Callis for a little update situation. Todd?
Yeah, good day for Drew Smiley. Good morning for him. He had a morning contest today for Charlotte, Florida, and ended up going 3 innings for the Charlotte Stone Crabs. Pitched well, only 1 hit allowed. Struck out 4, did not walk a batter through 40 pitches. And right now, Smiley is scheduled to pitch on Sunday again in his 3rd rehab start. That'll be for the Montgomery Biscuits as they play in Jacksonville. More than likely, he'll get 1 more after that, and they target a late April return to the Rays for Drew Smiley, guys.
Yeah, I like the Stone Crabs uniforms. That's a good look. Would prefer to see Smiley in a Rays uniform. Yeah. But as aesthetics go, that's a good look for the Stone Crabs.
Tell you what, minor league baseball all around. The new stadiums, intimate settings, great venues, really cool team nicknames and logos. They're trying to make it as fun as they can because they know that everybody that's playing there doesn't want to be there. They all want to be moving up.
Yep. 2-1. Encarnacion hits it on the ground to Beckham. Beckham gets it across. It's shaded toward the hole. So 2 outs in the 5th. Josh Donaldson, who is 2 for 2. He singled to lead off the 4th, and that led to the 2 runs for the Blue Jays. Foul ball, strike 1. Donaldson, 29 years old. It's 1-1. and 2. Donaldson drove in 98 runs last year. He was a fan of Jose Bautista before he came to Toronto. In fact, he used to look at his videos and his power approach.
Now he can just ask him.
Yeah.
And he gets to see it all the time now live.
Yep.
Well, he has been extremely productive the last couple of years for the A's and very durable. Down there at third base, 158 games played. Really good numbers.
He's out of play on a pitch moving in.
And as you were mentioning earlier in the game, plays a pretty awesome third base too for a converted catcher.
And you know, the interesting thing about that, he led the American League in errors last year. I think 23 errors, of which I think 17 were throwing errors. But he also was all over the place. He had the best range and was so obviously if you're going to handle the ball a little bit more, he's out on strikes this time. And try to make difficult plays. You might make an error or two, but he was outstanding at third. On a long home run off the bat of Steven Souza Jr., disrupting dinners out there in the far reaches of center here. And another run in the second, and then the Blue Jays scored 2 in the fourth. Kevin Millar's base hit scored Josh Donaldson, and a double by Jose Reyes got the other run home. So we're tied at the end of 5, 2-2. And Daniel Norris is out of the game after 5 innings. And Liam Hendricks comes on to take over and work the 6th.
Daniel Norris in those 5 innings, he had to work pretty hard, especially early. And with that pitch count up there at 90, a little over, time for his night to end. And Hendricks here on for the 3rd time.
Evan Longoria. 1 strike to count. Longoria, Jennings, and Forsythe. The Rays got a couple runs and 2 hits off the left-hander Norris. Evan could not check.
Well, there's a lot to like with Daniel Norris. I think that the delivery could be cleaned up just a little bit. Struggled with command early, but you know, a firm fastball, good breaking ball, good changeup.
Yeah, and he's only 21 years old.
I was going to say, that's the thing that you've got to remember. He is a youngster, but handled himself well.
2-2. Rays and the Blue Jays coming in, each 4-3 on the year. Longoria fouls it straight back. full count. Second full count for Longoria tonight. He walked in the third. And he walks again here in the sixth. The Rays have the leadoff man aboard. Well, here's what's coming up tomorrow on Rays Live. You don't want to miss the pregame show presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Major League Baseball celebrating Jackie Robinson Day, and it will be a Webb Wednesday. Game 3 of this 4-game series set for tomorrow. Desmond Jennings. There's a strike. And who will start for the Rays tomorrow? Desmond hit by a pitch in the second inning. The Rays converted that into a run. Go for one. And a fly ball to left in the third. Did he go? He did not on the appeal. Jeff Nelson at first, who is the crew chief, said he held up.
Liam Hendricks, a lot of sliders between Evan and Desmond Jennings. Another one there in the dirt, and Desmond not even close.
No tag on the throw over to Longoria. Encarnacion at first. Up the right side, back toward the corner with Carey, and it's going to carry and slice a bit into the seats. Hendricks initially in the big leagues with Minnesota, last year with the Blue Jays and Kansas City. In the dirt, blocked by Martin. Colt Hines in the bullpen now for the Blue Jays. Hendricks with Minnesota and then wound up with the Twins. Followed a move from the Twins to the Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays traded him to Kansas City. And Kansas City traded him back. Down to third. Donaldson. Travis won first. Not in time there.
That ball was just not hit sharply enough for the Blue Jays to be able to turn that double play with Desmond up the first baseline. A nice job by Encarnacion to keep this ball from heading over to the stands, like a sprawling backhand, and that keeps Desmond at first base.
Yeah, and the ball not being hit that hard, it gave Longoria a good chance to get down to second in a hurry and pressure Travis, who stayed in there, but the throw was wide and late. And here's Logan Forsythe. One and oh.
Well, he is really struggling with that slider. Had a couple good ones early to Evan Longoria, but since then continually putting that pitch in the dirt. And what that'll tip off these Rays right-handed hitters is you just go up there and sit with the fastball. You can't command the breaking ball, then you'd have no reason to look for it. You just sit dead red.
outs. 2-0, and Martin's going to make a trip to the mound. Raise up and get a Rays flex pack. Select any 3, 6, or 9 games during the 2015 season with no blackout dates and get a Rays tumbler with each pack purchase. To get your flex pack and save up to 50%, call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. Two and one. One on, one out, 6th inning. Starting to stop off first by Jennings. Forsythe fouling it back.
Desmond trying to time up Liam Hendricks. Not the easiest guy in the world to steal a bag off of. You just wonder if the Rays, who've been much more aggressive in the early going on the base paths, tie ball game here, try to put someone in motion. Logan Forsythe maybe punch the ball into right field.
And there's a strike on the outside corner. Pitch away, gets Forsythe looking for the second out.
Oh, a fastball right to the corner. Just froze him. No argument.
Now it's Rene Rivera. Rivera's 0 for 2 tonight. Hendricks misses up. Ball, no strikes. Here goes Jennings. Pitch is a strike, and the throw is in time. Jennings caught stealing to end the inning. So Martin throws out Jennings, and let's see, the Rays might want to talk this one over. Lance Diaz on the call.
Well, it looked like maybe that left hand of Desmond gets to the bag and the tag goes to the chest. You see that glove gets laid down right in front of the bag.
They're going to take a look.
Yeah, and why not? Absolutely. That glove, it looks to be that left hand gets in there before the glove makes contact with the chest. I think the Rays have a chance on this one.
So Kevin Cash comes out to challenge that call. Jennings called out at second base. Russell Martin last year with Pittsburgh was second in the National League with 28 runners thrown out. He was second to Rene Rivera, who was with the Padres then, and he threw out 29 men. And it was close down at second, but the Rays may have a case here.
And no fault of his own. I mean, Russell Martin with a good throw, but the one advantage that you have sliding headfirst into second base trying to steal a bag is the fact that you can move those hands. You can you go in feet first, they can just drop that tag right on your leg and you're done. With the hands you got a chance, and so the tag got put down in front of the bag, but there's nothing there. You miss the arm. Arm is into the bag. The tag is on the chest.
Yeah, he certainly looks safe.
It sure does. Unless he nicked the arm coming down, but it looks to.
It's a tie game, and the Rays challenge
It's funny, we're watching the replay and saying that he got in there. They're showing the replay here at Rogers Center, and the people are convinced that he got tagged.
How about that?
How about that?
Well, certainly a case of no clear and convincing evidence, apparently, but from our angle, he appeared to be safe.
Yep. The only thing they could have said was that the glove coming down, maybe it hit that left hand, and it's not definitive. But certainly looked like it was just laid down in the middle.
So the call stands, and we go to the bottom of the sixth. Two-two tie as we move into the bottom of inning 6. Kirby Yates on the hill facing the former Ray, Deoner Navarro. That's a strike. The Rays playing Navarro around to the right, not a complete shift, but Longoria well off the bag and back at third. So you saw Navarro shorten on the bat a bit. Take the pitch for strike one. And he lines this one right into shallow right, and Forsythe is right there.
I mean, that is exactly why you do it. I mean, you play the extreme shift. Logan Forsythe deep out there, shallow right field. And then here's the delivery. Half a step and a hop.
Russell Martin takes the pitch outside. 1-0. On the outside part of the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike. Matt Andriese pitched 3 2/3. Kirby Yates right now with an inning and 2/3 under his belt. And it's a 2-2 count.
The Rays pitching staff so fond of the elevated heater. We saw that really come into play last year, continuing on. Even the guys, you know, like Kirby Yates, Matt Andriese, who typically want to work down in the zone, still not afraid to go up.
Popped up back of first. Rivera gives it a chase, but it's out of reach.
And, you know, when you think about it, the pitch up close to a hitter's eyes, they see it big, they want to swing at it. If you put it up just enough, they can't get on top of it. They either swing through it or pop it up. Yeah. And it forces a hitter to cover the entire strike zone.
And I think that's especially true about them wanting to hit it when they see it, when they've seen a lot of pitches down. Finally one up, and they just can't wait. Rays have action in their bullpen. Geltz is up.
I want a Geltz jersey.
He can do it all.
He can.
Relieve, start. We think he might be able to pinch run too. We might have to start advocating for that. Full count.
He's just so good-natured about everything too. He's just enjoying his time in the big leagues and doing a heck of a job for the Rays.
Martin checks and fouls it again. Well, Martin 0 for 2, 1 for 21 to start the year. Longoria from third throws him out. So 2 away in the 6th. Tomorrow, an epic international showdown when the United States men's national team takes on Mexico as the Americans look to extend a 4-year unbeaten streak against their historic rivals at the sold-out Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas. Coverage begins tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, only on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Kevin Pillar chases this one. Ball just ran right away from it.
Do we know if that game is a qualifier or a friendly?
You're asking the exact question that I was thinking about asking, because I don't know.
I just want to know how fired up to be for it.
Well, they've got the unbeaten streak. Oh, a base hit the other way. Pillar has his second hit.
Yeah, Pillar has beaten the shift twice. Last time when Beckham pulled over in the hole, he goes more up the middle, and this time with everybody shading over, he just pokes it the other way.
Yeah, and it's the same pitch that he had pulled off of prior, and he stayed on this one and had all that room on the opposite side.
Well, this is how you beat the shift, period. If you can start to learn to use the whole field, you will force teams to not be able to shift on you, because you'll do that all day long.
Here's Devon Travis. And the strike.
You know, anymore, all you got to do is look at a defensive lineup and you know what kind of hitters at the plate. If everybody's playing straight up, you're like, okay, this guy uses the whole field. Slight pull, you'll get a shade. Heavy pull, you'll get the whole.
Runner takes off, and the fastball is fouled back. 0-2. And that got Bobby Wilson.
Right in the back.
Backswing got him in the back.
Yeah, that's tough too, because Bobby Wilson's coming up out of his crouch because the runner is taken off towards second. He's thinking about throwing somebody out. Instead, he gets whacked in the back.
Take a little time to let everything fall back into place. I'll tell you, that's so tough.
Well, catchers over the course of a 6-month season, they get beat up. Beat up pretty good.
So 2 strikes on Travis. Pilar back with the lead at first. Got to move over there. Upstairs, 1-2. Devon Travis, like the Rays manager Kevin Cash, went to Florida State, and like the Rays skipper, he also played in the College World Series and the Little League World Series. Made the World Series on a team out of Boynton Beach. Runner goes again, and the pitch is foul.
Well, now you're playing for the trifecta. Little League World Series, College World Series, and then everybody's dream playing in the MLB World Series.
Mm-hmm. Yates trying to end the bottom of the 6th. Two and two. Travis would not chase. Runner goes again, and it's lined into left. There goes Pilar to third. It'll be first and third. We'll swing back around to the top of the order.
Well, the Blue Jays not making this half of an inning very easy on the Rays, and I think that's going to end the night for Kirby Yates. Good at bat by Pilar with the base hit, and then Travis working the count, and he hammers one to left with Pilar moving.
So the Rays will make the pitching change. We'll be back. Reese, who went 3 2/3. And now Steve Geltz gets the call with his 2-out uprising. 2 men on at first and third with 2 outs.
We've seen Steve Geltz do a little bit of everything. Have a start, been in 3 games. ERA 2.08, 5 strikeouts in 4 1/3, and that's the other thing that we've seen out of Steve Geltz, that ability to get the strikeout.
Yeah, we saw some signs of that last year, and the Rays took note of that. He has been a swing and miss guy. Jose Reyes. And the first pitch in there for a strike. Boy, you know, you're a hitter. You're keyed up for the hard stuff, and you get that.
You get a breaking ball that he just wraps around and drops on the outside corner. Strike one.
Popped up on the infield. Rivera making the call, and he's got it. Had it all the way. 2 men left on base. We're headed into the 7th, tied 2-2. Care of business, getting Jose Reyes.
Figured it out, Dwayne. Rene Rivera, assuming because Steve Geltz can do it all, was going to take this pop-up. That's why he had to adjust. He's just like, listen, Geltz, he's going to take it. Oh, wait a minute. No, I guess he's not. He fish hooks and makes the catch.
Well, Geltz was right there in position to make a diving catch if he had to. So we go to the 7th, and a big cut and a foul ball back by Rene Rivera. Rivera 0 for 2 in this game. Tim Beckham to follow, and then Bobby Wilson against Hendricks. Oh, there goes the bat. Look out. Big cut and a miss, and the bat end over end into the stands. Everybody's okay. Rivera today. That bat left me, and I'm going to get another one.
Big swing and big carry. Look out.
Oh, 2. There's strike 3. Boy, that's a tough pitch right there. 0-2. Hendricks picks up his second strikeout.
Took a little bit off that breaking ball and dropped it right to the outside corner. Well, that's well located. No question.
Here's Tim Beckham. Fouls this one back. That's a strike.
I'm glad that, yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
You're looking for all those phantom pitches.
Yeah, I was like, 5.
Where did those come from?
5 looks like it's in a good spot, but I don't know if we got to 5.
Yeah, well, he threw his bat into the stand. Somebody added a couple more pitches in there quickly. One to count on Beckham. That could affect the guy's pitch count. Catches the corner. A 1-2 count on the Rays shortstop, Tim Beckham. Prolongs the at bat with that foul ball. Runs, 8 hits for Toronto. The Rays 2 runs, 2 hits. Beckham is out on strikes. 3 consecutive strikeouts for Hendricks.
Well, Liam Hendricks struggled with the breaking ball early. Only could get the fastball over the plate. Well, the breaking ball has tightened up. He's been good with that, changed speeds with it. That fastball at 95, he's in a pretty good rhythm right now.
Here's Bobby Wilson. There's a base hit right back through the middle off a first pitch fastball. Wilson not waiting to see anything with a little dart to it. There's a fastball. He's swinging.
That's that part of that approach that we've seen from this Rays lineup. And Bobby Wilson has not had a lot of playing time up till now, but he goes right up there. If I get something out over the plate to hit, I'm going to take a rip, and he goes right back through the middle.
Gibbons out to make a pitching change, and we'll take a break.
Tweet your questions to @SunSportsRays or email them to sunsportsrays@gmail.com. Dwayne and BA with all the answers throughout the night, guys.
All right, that'll be game 3 of this 4-game series. The Rays will be home over the weekend to start a lengthy homestand. Kevin Kiermaier will now hit with Miguel Castro, the young, hard-throwing right-hander in the game. Kiermaier hits in the place of Brandon Guyer.
And already with a couple of saves, 2 out of 2 in the save department.
There's a shot headed into left center field, but it hangs up for Pilar, who makes the catch. And the Rays are out in the 7th. This game tied 2-2. The bottom of the 7th. Bring the clock out to Family Fun Day when the Rays host the Yankees Sunday, April 19th. Kids 14 and under receive an Evan Longoria rubber duck while supplies last. For tickets, call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. Dalton Pompey leads off, hitting left-handed against Steve Geltz. First pitch stays just wide. 1-0. Pompey had an infield hit in the 3rd. Geltz is behind him, 2-0. Geltz got the last out in the bottom of the 6th when he got Reyes to pop out. High foul. That's going to be out of play.
A nice grab. Rule number 7.
Good stuff right there. Get it by him.
That swing by Pompey was long and loopy. And Steve Geltz, who is one of those pitchers where that radar gun reading is not going to light you up, but it's got that late jump, that late life at the end, and that's why he gets a lot of swings and misses. Going to go up here.
Hopper, right center. Coming in, Souza's there to make the catch.
I'm just so impressed with the guys on this Rays staff and really pitchers around the game that can consistently make that pitch up in the zone. It's a dangerous pitch if you don't get it to your spot. And yet when you do, we talked about it, you get swings and misses and you get weak pop-ups, which is what he got right there.
It's so hard for hitters to get on top and drive a pitch like that.
Yeah.
So that's what you get. Inside to Bautista. Big cut right there. 1-1. Bautista very aggressive up there. Missed by much. 2 balls and a strike. Pop foul. Bobby Wilson gives it a chase, but no chance. That ball out of play. Geltz, 27 years old. This one skied to short center. Kiermaier. 2 gone.
Let's take a look at that sequence of pitches. Big part of the game, big part of the lineup. Steve Geltz versus Jose Bautista. A breaking ball there that backed up on him. Ball 1. Gets that fastball above the swing. Big swing. Another breaking ball just misses. So you've fallen behind, but then you go up in the zone with the fastball, get back to even, go right back up in the zone again, and another soft pop out to center field.
He gets ahead of Edwin Encarnacion with a strike. One and one. Geltz grew up really not far from here, just across Lake Ontario in New York. So he's relatively close to home, and he pops up Encarnacion, a foul ball. Wilson runs out of room. It's 1-2. His hometown, Ransomville, New York, has about 1,400 people in it. And he went to Wilson High School in Wilson, New York. They have a little over 1,200 people in Wilson. That's on the shores of Lake Ontario. There's one stoplight. Longoria with a pickup. And tonight, Geltz has been a stoplight in the 6th and 7th inning here out of the Rays bullpen. Tied 2-2. Tonight's game summary brought to you by Gold and Diamond Source, tied 2-2 through 7. Steven Souza Jr. opened the scoring with a long home run to center field, and we go to the 8th. It's Souza to lead it off, and there's a bunt. Throw to first, not going to be in time. Castro, long and lanky with a great arm, could not get that ball over there in time, and Souza Jr. has himself a bunt.
We've seen both ends of the spectrum of Steven Souza and his skill set. We've seen the extreme power, and then how about this? Just dropping that down. I mean, you could not have walked out and dropped that ball any better than what Steven Souza did right there. Just a perfectly placed bunt, good speed, not close at first.
It's Asdrubal Cabrera. Foul ball off Cabrera's bat, strike one.
Castro, he's got that long, loopy arm swing, and then just tremendous whip and finish out front. 6'5", tall, skinny, lanky.
He just turned 20 last December. Jeez. His birthday's Christmas Eve. He was 20 on December 24th. Pitch at 97 in to Cabrera, and he fouls it. And Cabrera out on strikes, a foul tip strikeout right into the mid of Martin.
98, 97, and then an 83-mile-an-hour frisbee.
Our T-Mobile game changer, Evan Longoria. Take a look at that as players who lead their franchise in doubles, homers, RBIs, and extra base hits. Evan Longoria topping the Rockies. What a healthy list that is. There goes Souza. The pitch inside. Throw down, not in time. Throw into center field. And Souza heads into third, standing. The Rays have a man at third base with one out. A stolen base for Souza, his second of the year. And an error allows him to go to third.
Well, the throw had to be rushed because Russell Martin had to reach for it. You see Souza off and running. You had to reach back, then throw. The ball is low, and the slide of Souza gets in the way of Travis. That right there throws off the rhythm and timing of everything. And then the slide of Souza does the rest, and he alertly pops up and gets to third.
Now, with a man at third, they're going to walk Longoria intentionally with Desmond Jennings due up.
I don't think Miguel Castro's worked on
walking people intentionally.
No, because he's firing that ball in there with some hair on it for a pitch out. He doesn't know any better. In 98.
So Longoria will head to first. And Desmond Jennings will face the hard-throwing right-hander.
Golden opportunity here for the Rays. Desmond Jennings thinking about getting that swing started quickly and driving that run in.
In 2013, Castro was pitching in the Gulf Coast League. Now Jennings, and there they're cutting him at strike one. And he finished last year in high A. Now here he is in the big leagues.
That's three now. We got Pompey, we got tonight's starter Norris, and we have Castro here that have just zoomed through the Toronto system.
Tampa foul.
But look at the stuff.
Yeah.
You take the age out of it. 97, 98 with movement, but then his slider, the #1 secondary pitch, he's been able to command with good break. Those pitches win. I don't care how old you are or what level you're at.
Fly ball into center. Pompey will make the catch. Souza tags and he heads to the plate. And the Rays get the go-ahead run on a sacrifice fly by Jennings, down 0-2. He managed to lift that ball into center field to get the run home.
Well, great job by Desmond Jennings. A little disconcerting to be down 0-2 with the stuff of Castro, but he shortened the swing and was just looking to put the ball in play. And he did just that.
How about that for the Rays of manufacturing a run? A bunt single, a steal, a move to third on the air, and a sacrifice fly to get the go-ahead run home. Now Forsythe fouls it.
Well, we've seen already the Rays much more active on the base paths here in the early going. They've got some guys that can run, and if they're out there, they're going to put them to use. And Souza, he did that bunt himself, and then of course stealing the bag. I almost had a great jump right there too.
2 strikes to count on Forsythe. Wow, base hit in the hole between short and third. Longoria stops at second.
Castro getting ahead and then not really expanding that zone at all. He's given the Rays hitters a chance. Desmond Jennings was able to sacrifice fly to center, and then Logan Forsythe right there just shortened the swing and just pokes the ball right in the hole. Look at him, right to the baseball, head down. Keep the inning going.
Here's Rene Rivera. It's a little disconcerting. Getting out of there in a hurry. Now in 98. Brad Balfour up in the bullpen. 1-1, more heat. 98 miles per hour. 2 runs off Norris, and now 1 off Castro. Slider away. Ball three. 3 balls and a strike. Gory is on second and Forsythe is at first. Ooh, look at that 3-1. Are you kidding me?
Russell Martin got locked up just like we did. Watch this.
3-2. Runners go. Cutting a miss on the fastball. Rays get a run. Bottom of the 8th coming. It's 3-2 Tampa Bay.
And a lot of it has to do with that man right there, Steven Souza Jr. Going to start the 8th inning off with a perfectly placed base hit bunt up the line. Really no play to be had there. Later in the inning, he's going to take off, steal second base, and then on a throw that heads to center field, alertly pops up, gets over to third base with less than 2, and he would finally come in to score as Desmond Jennings in an 0-2 count lifts a fly ball to center field. And here he comes. I'll tell you what, Steven Souza Jr. having a nice night tonight. The big home run in the first inning, and then all of that action there in the top of the 8th.
Well, Grant Balfour is going to get the call here in the bottom of the 8th inning. And he'll face Josh Donaldson. The pitch from Grant Loan outside, 1 ball, no strikes. Rays last night got 8 innings from Jake Odorizzi, and then Brad Boxberger finished it off, picking up his 3rd save. But Boxberger's been used in 3 of the last 4 games. 1-1. See how things stack up the rest of the way. Geltz an inning and a 3rd. Andriese started 3 2/3, then 2 from Yates. Geltz and now Balfour. Fly ball deep to left field. Jennings reaching for the fence, has room, and makes the catch. Jennings started to reach for the fence out there. Just enough room.
That's enough of that. Josh Donaldson, you know the kind of power that he has and what he's capable of. That ball off the bat looked good, sounded good.
And you know, and here This is a good place to hit.
Yeah.
You have a ball leave the bat like that, you're a little concerned. Navarro takes a pitch up. You know, when you look at matchups, and we didn't get a chance to get to it before Donaldson hit that long fly ball, but Grant had faced him 3 times, gave up a base hit, and walked him twice. So that's the first time he's ever gotten him out. So now we're past that.
I can go to work.
Navarro lifts a fly ball to right. Souza Jr. takes care of that. 2 gone.
Well, what about the job that Steve Geltz did coming in the bottom of the 6th to get a big out, and then he's going to go to work right through the heart of the order. Pompey, Bautista, Encarnacion, and he worked them over a 1-2-3 inning, and then a perfect line across. Geltzy doing Geltzy things.
That's what he does.
Hey.
Russell Martin fouls it. Strike 1. Martin, a couple strikeouts and a ground out to third tonight. One and one. Grant worked in the Friday game against the Marlins. 1 scoreless inning. Into the dirt again. Fighting down there, and it's 2-1. Fly ball to left. Jennings near the track is there, and he's got it. So 3 fly balls. 1, 2, 3 go the Blue Jays. We're headed into the 9th. 3-2 Rays. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. At Rogers Center in Toronto tonight, the second game of this 4-game series. Rays winners last night 2-1. Another close one tonight. 3-2 as we go to the 9th inning. Colt Hines, a left-hander, will take over for the Blue Jays on the mound. Hines, 29 years old. He'll be 30 at the end of June. Out of Weatherford, Texas. Pitched at Texas Tech. His father, Randy, was in professional rodeo. And Colt chose baseball.
That black book that you carry around is amazing.
Pitches
simply amazing
to Tim Beckham. I would pick baseball over rodeo.
Me too. Well, now sometimes you with these rodeos, you're not even wearing the traditional cowboy hat anymore.
Yeah.
You're going with those big masks. Just doesn't look cowboy enough.
Tough to get a cowboy, even a 10-gallon hat on that helmet. 2 balls and a strike. Norris for 5. Hendricks an inning and 2/3. Castro an inning and a third. Beckham trying to get on and get something started and give the Rays a little breathing room. Two, and he's out on strikes.
Well, that's the sweeping breaking ball, and you can see with Hines' delivery, he's got some deception there, kind of a lower 3/4 arm angle, and he just rips this slider right across the plate, back legs, Tim Beckham.
Here's Bobby Wilson. Pitch popped up. It's going to be out of play. Well, you look at this bullpen. They've just rebuilt the bullpen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the more inexperienced bullpens in terms of major league games. But boy, they give you all kinds of looks.
Boy, I'll tell you, that is the new wave of Major League Baseball. Shut down bullpens that have great stuff coming out and a lot of different looks. And you go from a guy like Miguel Castro kind of slinging that ball, 97, 98. Now you go to the lefty who's got that funky arm angle, sweeping everything. Another one there.
Wilson missed it. Back-to-back strikeouts. Well, a reminder, Game 3 tomorrow night. Mark Burley, he wastes very little time. The Rays still to announce who'll start tomorrow. What a matchup. Archer and Sanchez Thursday night here. 2 great arms. Kevin Kiermaier against the lefty, waves and misses. Kevin pinch hit in the 7th and hit a fly ball into left. 1-1. Rays have Jepson up in the bullpen. Kiermaier lifts it toward the line and left. Pilar, a long run, and he runs out of room and right into that low wall. Yeah, just check to make sure everything's okay.
Making friends. Yeah, whatever you jumped in with, you got to make sure you leave with. Oh. That guy.
Almost a takedown.
Well, that Seattle Seahawk plaid shirt guy got plastered.
Up the middle, there's a base hit into center. So Kiermaier against the lefty picks up a base hit.
Well, that at bat right there epitomizes how hot Kevin Kiermaier's been to start the year. Tough lefty, tough arm angle to deal with, a really bad count, and yet he hangs right in there and goes right up the middle with a base hit.
Yeah, and he's off to the races as usual.
Especially tonight. Didn't get to play a full game. He's got way too much energy right now.
Here's Steven Souza Jr. Strike one.
Well, you hope a game like this really allows Souza Jr. to settle into the season, as he's had a heck of a night.
Long home run to center to start the scoring, and that bunt base hit leading to the Rays' third run of the night, the go-ahead run. He's behind Hines, 0-2. Line drive and a base hit into left. Kiermaier makes a big turn but holds at second. So it's a 3-hit night for Souza.
Again in an 0-2 count. Seen some Rays hitters in 0-2 counts really be able to capitalize the last couple of innings on Blue Jay pitchers that are coming a little too close to the zone. Fastball stays out over the plate. He wanted that ball in, tucked in behind Souza. Didn't get it there.
Well, Pete Walker, the pitching coach, spending some time on the mound. There is some action down in the bullpen for Toronto as Drupal Cabrera, who's the DH tonight, will turn around to hit right-handed against this lefty. We have Marco Estrada, the veteran. He's been a starter and has worked out of the bullpen in his career. He's busy right now. And it'll be Cabrera against Hines. Cabrera takes a look at first pitch. Strike one. Up the right side. That's twisting foul. 0-2. Well, last year's bullpen for the Blue Jays finished 25th in the major leagues in earned run average. And so they've looked to revamp it. One ball, two strikes. Rays got a run in the eighth. Have a 2-out threat in the ninth. What are they doing back there? Ground ball left side. Donaldson will take it to first. Out there, the Rays strand two men in the ninth inning. Bottom of the ninth coming. Pilar, Travis, and Reyes due up for Toronto.
Following the Rays-Jays game, we'll have the Rays Live postgame brought to you by Checkers. Big night tonight for Steven Souza.
Done a little bit of everything. Big power, the bunt, the runs. Exciting game for the young kid.
Todd Callis will be in the clubhouse with interviews. We'll have highlights and a whole lot more that's coming up right after the game. Guys?
All right, fellas, there you go. Rays Live following the conclusion of this game. Kevin Jepsen on the hill in the closing role tonight. Again, Boxberger has been in action in 3 of the last 4 games, including last night. And so this role goes to Kevin Jepsen, the big right-hander. Jepsen with 5 major league saves in his time with the Angels. And he'll face Kevin Pillar. First matchup between Pillar and Jepsen. And the pitch is a strike. Mid-90s with that fastball.
Important for Kevin Jepsen to come out sharp, because you've got 8, 9, and 1 coming up to the plate here in the 9th inning. You don't want to venture too far past that.
Strike 2. Drops that one in there.
So far, so good.
After that mid-90s fastball. Little tap, third base side. That's foul, and Longoria made sure it stayed foul.
I love that play by Evan Longoria. Instead of just coming in to field it, he comes in on a ball that had just rolled foul and just swat it. Just get it out of there.
You know, it was interesting. Last night before the game, the Rays actually were rolling balls up the baselines here just to determine if there was a tendency to go one way or the other.
Get to it.
And Evan says, forget that. We're not going to let anything roll.
Well done. Yeah, isn't it amazing, the attention to detail? The way the ball comes off the wall in different areas. Rolling balls up the line.
1 and 2. Well, this infield was so slow they had a difficult time getting the roll very far up. New turf and a bit slow. Took a shot wide. 2 and 2.
Trying to catch Pillar by surprise, and he did, just off the plate.
Chop left side. Longoria with a nice pickup. Boy, he made that play look so pretty, but that's a tough play.
Well, yeah, and what he did is he got off to the explosion right there to get to it before it gets to an in-between hop. That is a split-second decision. Do I wait back on it, or do I charge hard? And if he doesn't charge that hard, then you get that in-between hop, and that play immensely more difficult.
And it not only is more difficult, but it takes more time to develop, which gives Pillar an extra step or two down the line. Here's Travis, the second baseman. First pitch fastball for a strike.
That was a nice sequence there for the Rays third baseman. Swat the ball foul and make a heck of a play on a chopper.
That guy's got an idea down there.
Yay.
Nice pitch right there. 0-2.
Kevin Jepsen, another, the fastball tells you he's got good arm speed. It's in the mid-90s, and then you drop that curveball with that kind of arm speed, and the Rays have a couple of pitchers that can really spin it in there. You think about Nate Carnes.
1 ball, 2 strikes.
It's a hard power curveball.
Take a look at this pitch. Lay off that.
Because you know you can't hit it.
And it's a strike anyway.
You're begging for that to be called a ball.
A little bit of that one foul. I think that pitch was so good that it surprised Corey Blazier. That curveball, that third pitch of the at-bat.
Really like Corey Blazier in dodgeball. Really good in that.
Fly ball deep center. Kiermaier will go to the track, leaping, and he makes the catch. Boy, he went airborne about a step and a half onto the track and had some nice hang time. Caught by the wall.
Showtime.
2 gone.
Showtime for Kevin Kiermaier. Had to go a long way. He's going to jump early. Nicely done.
Jepson watching that play develop in center field. He likes it. 2 outs, and here's Jose Reyes. Let's strike the count on Reyes. Ground ball. Forsythe to first. Rays win it. Rays have taken the first 2 games of the series. Jepson a 1-2-3 ninth inning. The Rays score a run in the 8th and make that run hold up as they win their 5th game of the year. They've won 5 out of 6 and 4 in a row and win this one tonight 3-2. So the Rays win a couple of 1-run games here over the Toronto Blue Jays and go to 5-3. Boston with a win. They opened the day in first place, and the Rays now 5-3 will move in to second place alone. Toronto drops to 4-4. And so the Rays win it. A big night for Steven Souza Jr. Todd Callis is with the young Rays outfielder right now.
Dwayne, thanks. Steven, it seems like the team's playing